Want to welcome everyone. My name is Mickey Wright. I'm with Beauty Superstars Talk, and we have a super exciting evening. We're going to go behind the scenes with Ralph Ochoa. We're super excited to have him here, and it's all about hairstyling for film and television, something that I know just a teensy-weensy bit about, and it's definitely something that feels very exciting. And so we want to know more about it and see what it's like to really do that. So with Beauty Superstars Talk, I just want to give you guys a little bit of frame of reference if you haven't been here before. It actually was kind of born out of the things that happened in our country with George Floyd's murder and the racial tensions that erupted after that, and then spilled into the beauty industry. And I had the opportunity to be on a few calls that were, definitely a lot of, Black artists who were doing great things, wanting to, kind of come together and see, how we can make change and have a more inclusive and more diverse, business or beauty industry. So on that call, it's like I just felt so inspired by all of the people that were there. I knew a few of them. I knew some of them, I guess I should say, and I didn't know some. And I just felt like their stories have to be told, that we need to, mark all of this in history. We need to celebrate our successes, which I don't think we take time enough to do on a regular basis because we're just busy doing and busy being and whatever. And so this whole time with the pandemic and everything is like a kind of like a global pause. So this is just the start of, something I think that can be really huge. And I'm loving meeting with each person and just getting, who they are. And this is, that safe space where people can tell their own story. It's like we don't have to have someone narrate, what they think they heard kind of thing. So with all of that said, I'm so glad you guys that are here with us are joining us. If you're seeing the replay, we appreciate you being here. We will take some questions. I think there's going to be quite a few as we go on. I see some of you guys saying hello in the chat, and if you use the chat, that would be best because then I won't have to try to navigate too much between the chat and the Q&A. So if you have questions, you can throw those in the chat as well. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guest today, and then we'll kind of jump right in. So one of the things I like to do is just kind of read through the bio of our guest. And my guest tonight said they don't have bios with what he does. So he sent me his resume, which I want you guys that are listening, that are here with us on Zoom, to just put a 1 in there. I'm going to read you some of his credits on this extensive resume. So just put a 1 in there if you're familiar with the show. So we've got Single Ladies season 1. We've got House of Pain. I think everybody's familiar with that one. We've got For Better or For Worse. And The Hunger Games Catching Fire. I don't even know what that is, but I think everybody else probably does.
Film. It was a big, huge film.
Yeah, exactly. I might even be the wrong person to do this interview.
No, you're not.
Well, movies, I have a lot of movies on my list that I intended to see and still want to see, but I haven't seen. So, so we've got Love Thy Neighbor, I'm not sure what I just said, The Have and the Have-Nots, The Good Lie, For Better or For Worse. I like that show. Lila and Eve, which is a movie, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that was Viola Davis in that one?
Viola Davis and Jennifer Lopez.
Yes, okay. Red Band Society, that one, Octavia Spencer?
Yeah, it was a TV series with Octavia Spencer.
Okay, see, I know a little bit, okay. If Loving You Is Wrong, I definitely watched that, and I saw the picture of Jasmine Guy on there. I was like so surprised to see her when she made that appearance.
No, that was another show I did with Jasmine.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
The Quad.
The what is it? The Quad?
The Quad. It was on BET.
Oh, okay, awesome. I told you.
I had worked with her on If Loving You Is Wrong.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So, let's see. Boo. Medea Halloween. That is on my list because I still haven't seen it yet. Survivor's Remorse, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, The Quad is on here, The Walking Dead, which everybody was raving about. I'm not
Yeah.
too into like Walking Dead, so I've never seen the show.
It's okay.
But I think it helped a lot. It employed a lot of hairstylists from what I was hearing. So, so that's a great thing. And then Love Is, and then I just have to share, I had the TV on. I wasn't really watching it per se. Something else, the news or something had gone off and television was on. I'm watching and, just kind of look up. I think I was more on my phone than anything. And it's like, I, glance up, it's like, wow, I love that cut, on the person that's on TV. And then I saw another person. I was like, oh, their hair looks really good. And no joke, it's like I'm on my phone, I'm scrolling through, and Ralph is posting that they worked on that. I was like, oh my God. So, and that was Council of Dads. I had never even seen the show before.
That was a really great show.
Yeah, you said is it not coming back? Or you don't
No,
know?
only got one season. It did not get picked up for season 2.
Oh, okay. Well, I see a lot of ones in here, so it's like definitely other people know about what you've been working on. But it's quite impressive. So I'm really excited that you're here. And one of the things that I always like to find out is like, how did you get started in the industry? And we spoke a little bit about this, but I think it's so fascinating to hear everyone's stories and how different they are.
Okay. Well, I've been a hairdresser. Once before I even start, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your show. It's great to be recognized by people in the industry that you respect. And so I want to say thank you for that first and foremost.
Well, thank you.
Sure. But how I got started in the industry, my dear friend, my best friend really, Charles Gregory Ross, the renowned, most people do know him. A lot of people follow him. He recently passed away. But that was my dear friend, and we've known each other for like forever. We both were educators. He was an educator for Soft Sheen, and I was an educator for Roadside. And so we would both see each other. We both lived in Atlanta. We would see each other all the time. And, we would just speak and say, hey. And then one day, another good friend of ours, Johnny Gentry, was here for something, and he had to go out to Charles's house. So I drove him out there, and I was getting ready to leave. He said, you coming in? I said, no, I don't come into people's houses that I'm not invited to. He said, if you don't come in, Charles is going to be mad. I said, well, if you get out my car, he won't know that I was here. So literally, as I was saying that, Charles comes out of his garage and sees me. He's like, come on in. He's like, I know you weren't going to leave. I was like, well, no. Anyway, long story short, I got there at 12 noon. I left at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
Charles cooked breakfast, lunch, dinner. We played cards. We watched movies. We talked about all kind of things. And before the course of the evening was over with, he said, I'm going to get you to work in TV and film. I was like, okay, sure, whatever. And literally, I was like, okay. And I said, well, whatever you need me to do, I'll hold your pens, whatever. And he's like, no, when I call you, you got to come to work and you got to be ready to do hair. So I said, okay. Like a few months later, he called me. He says, what are you doing tomorrow and Friday? It was Wednesday. I was like, well, I got to work. He said, well, I need you to come work with me on a movie. I was like, okay. And that was the beginning of my career. And when I started doing hair in DC, people would have asked me, what do you want to do? And I would have been like, I want to own a salon. I want to be a platform artist. I want to drive a Bentley. I want to, do all these other things. Hollywood was never in my game plan at all. I didn't want to go to Hollywood, never thought about it. I moved to Atlanta, still didn't think about it until Charles Gregory bought it up.
Wow.
That
story deserves a hand. That is like a script,
Our friendship was a script.
Okay. Yeah, but that someone shared, what a wonderful friend. But yes, absolutely. So so take us back, because I think that's such a great way to segue into the film and television industry. But what had you done prior to that? How did you even get into the industry at all?
Well, really, I think people's misconception with film and TV is, let me just get this right off my chest real quick.
Okay.
People think of film and TV, they think of The Devil Wears Prada, Hunger Games, well, you haven't seen that, Black Panther, let's see, Sex in the City. They think of these really, really big budget, glamorous things where you're walking around here chasing people doing these fabulous hairstyles. And no, those movies come few and far between. You
Okay.
start out in background. You start out doing all those people walking around that you don't ever see their faces. That's what you start out working on. And that's how it really happened. Like when I was doing the TV, it was a movie with Charles. I literally, it was a wedding scene. There were like 300 guests. So I had to help. I was one of many hairdressers in the background. We were all doing hair for a wedding. Now in TV and film, you got 300 people, you may have 10 hairdressers, and you got to get them in and out. That's not the time to show them your best evening do. That is the time to show them that you can do the job and get it done quickly, and it matched the period.
Can I pause you for a second there? With quickly, what do you mean by quickly? When you say get them in and out, we're used to standing behind the chair. We've got,
you're standing in a tent.
Okay.
We work outside probably in tents, or if it's like that particular time, yeah, we were working in a tent there. They had, the church was on hold. So we had stations set up with like 6 by those long banquet tables with mirrors in front of them. We got our little equipment right there. And you look at them and, they go through wardrobe and makeup or whatever, and they're supposed to come hair and makeup ready, which means they have some semblance of something, but usually they don't. Okay. But you have to put them together, and you may have, as one person, you may have to do 10 people. And now out of 300 people, you probably only got 2 hours to get 300 people ready to get in front of the camera.
2 hours, okay.
You get 300 people between 10 of you.
Okay.
And you got to get them ready. Like, that's that time where you got to remember, how quickly can I get this person's hair up in a twist? Or how can does she look like her outfit? You don't always have to touch everyone. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you're going to have to spend a little bit more time on others, but you got to get them ready. And when I say you got to move them quick, there's no time. You got to think about what the camera's going to see. May not see back up under the hair. They might just see the top, the part that frames the face. So you got to get that silhouette pretty.
Okay. Wow. That sounds like pressure.
It is and it isn't. It really, the first time I almost passed out. I was sweating bullets and everything. I mean, it was summertime. We were outside in a tent, and I'm just like, my first time, I'm like trying to do everything. And, I mean, it was pressure. But then once I got into it, I realized, like, my best friend, another good friend of mine, Vincent Gideon, he's also one of my mentors. He was there with me, and literally he was like, you got this, go ahead, just keep it moving. And, you get into a flow, but that's a particular easier thing. There are times, like I worked on Black Panther, and with Black Panther, now background in Black Panther, now that's when you got to be afraid. That's one that'll really, because there were so many hair pieces and so many specific looks that we had to do. And I didn't really work on Black Panther in that capacity. I worked I helped them prep. So we were prepping the wigs to get them ready before they even started shooting. But like certain shows, like period shows, they're a little bit more difficult.
Okay, so walk us through a little bit, like what's prep? You told us what does that really entail?
When we were doing Black Panther, when I was helping prep, we were doing like wig fittings for the principal, for the lead actors.
So they would actually come in the studio where you're working.
Well, no, we work in a trailer.
You work in a trailer, okay.
Nothing is glamorous about my job.
Okay, that's why we have you here. We want to know. We want to know the real deal.
You don't get to wear beautiful clothes and great jewelry and wonderful shoes. You come to work.
Right.
Okay. So we're in a trailer, and we're prepping wigs. And for those that have seen Black Panther, it was a lot of very specific looks. And I will tell you a story, like, because I was there, I was coloring hair. A couple of the actors, they needed to look like they had been. The African-American actors needed to have been sun bleached, the top of their hair. So I had to color them. I had to bleach their hair so it looked like they had been sun bleached, but sun bleached, not bleached. So I was prepping some of the actors, but my friend and I, Vincent, we were prepping a test wig. It was a wig that was going to be worn. It was a very prominent actor, and I don't remember, I mean, a prominent scene, this actress that was wearing the wig. But for like 8 hours, Vincent and I were prepping the prep for the wig. We were molding it and everything. And Angela Bassett had come in to get fitted for her wig. She had come in and we had had lunch and came back, and she had come back out, and she stopped and she says, "Is that the same wig? We've been working on this wig for hours." And it was just a prep wig. It wasn't actually the wig. It was just a test to see if this was going to work, the technique, because it was really a big deal. But yeah, I mean, when you start prepping, you're doing camera tests, which means you're going in front of the cameras with the actors in wardrobe, makeup, and hair. You got to go before the directors, the producers, the writers. Everyone has to come together, because a lot of people think that we create all of the looks. We execute them. Sometimes the looks are created through the costume department, or it might be created through the director or the writer's vision. It's just sometimes it's more or less we execute them. Sometimes they're like, no, you create the look, or sometimes you got to get in conjunction with the actor as well.
Okay. So a lot of times you're saying it's like a lot of times it's kind of passed down to you what you're going to do, and you're responsible for executing it versus
on certain shows. Like on Black Panther, I worked on Black Panther, but they had a whole storyboard of what they wanted to look like. You know, they had researched stuff in Africa. When you get ready to do a show, like I do Black Lightning. Black Lightning, I just finished, well, that was the last show I worked. Well, not the last show, but that was my show last season. And Black Lightning, it's a contemporary TV show, and it's a Black superhero. So by being contemporary, you got to think about, like, what are contemporary looks that are not too conspicuous? Because you want the focus to be on the talent acting, not the hairstyle.
Right.
So you gotta get, and then you gotta also work with the actress who may say, well, I don't like my hair like this, or I have certain, you know. So it's always a you know, push and pull, give and take.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have the whole free reign of it, and then sometimes you got 5 different people that you have to answer to.
Okay. And how does that work when there's like so many? Are they typically conflicting, or, you know, one pulling you here and one saying this and the other saying, no, we don't want, you know?
It really just depends on the show. I have worked on projects where literally I have had to get 5 different approvals, go up the chain and come back down the chain. Mm-hmm. And go up, one likes it, the next one says, well, I don't like this about it, so it's got to come back down, I got to fix that. Then it might go back up, and then the first person will be like, well, I don't like this. You know, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have those situations where it just, oh, that's exactly what I wanted. And it's kind of my job to be able to interpret what they're thinking. You know how when clients come into the salon and they say, I want my hair red, and their version of red is not your idea of red? So it's the same kind of feeling.
Yeah, definitely got to get some clarity going.
Yeah, you have to get clarity.
Yeah. So tell us, you were mentioning the period pieces. Now, is something like Black Panther that's very futuristic and tied to, you know, like you say, African traditions and that type of thing, is that considered period, or is it only going back, you know?
No, that would be it's considered period because it encompasses a certain look.
Okay.
It encompasses a certain look, so you got to stick to that particular look. Let me see. Like a period piece would be, I did Love Is. Love Is was in the 80s. Now, Now, I graduated high school in 1982, so that was my period. I was like, this is right up my alley. I know exactly what this is. But it does encompass a lot, because if you're trying to be specific on the period, in 1980s, men didn't have really sharp lines with haircuts.
Okay, right.
Women didn't have, like your hair is cut in a wonderful bob. Back in the 80s, we didn't have a flat iron. we had those great big curling irons, and we would be sitting up there, and it had a big curl on the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big, as we call, a big bump. So you had
Yep.
to remember that. You couldn't. I said, and when I would hire people, I said, you don't need any flat irons. I need you to bring curling irons to set, because whatever we're doing in that period is indicative of hair that has been curled. And Halle Berry, the short Halle Berry look, that was popular.
Right.
And Robin Gibbons was in Boomerang.
Yeah.
And she had this big, beautiful wig. When I look at it now, it's huge. But that was a reference point. That was one of my reference points in my trailer, is Robin Gibbons from Boomerang. So you had to match those looks. You couldn't have, like, if guys came in with these super sharp hair lines and everything, we'd have to, like, as we call them, dirty them up so that the line wouldn't be so sharp. None of these sharp lines around the beards and the goatees, and you had to be careful about the facial hair, because certain facial hair is indicative of a certain time frame.
Right.
Right. So, and like I told them, I said, for background, like I had days with huge background. I said, okay, I cannot, this was back in the 80s. There was no pink hair, there was no blue hair, there was no green hair. So I don't need anybody walking around. If there's anybody coming through with purple hair or whatever, they've either we can't use them or we've got to wig them. We also had another issue of, with so many women being natural now, I said there were no naturals back then. So those naturals, you got to pull them back, and you have to think on a dime. You got to think on a dime, because, all you got to see, because when you're watching something, you don't want background to be obtrusive. You don't want like this blue-haired person walking through the background and that's what you're focusing on.
Right.
So yeah, period. I mean, like period is like 80s. It could be 90s.
Mm-hmm.
When we think of period, we always think of like 70s, 60s, 50s, or the 1800s. But period right now, we're in it's 2020. Period is 1990.
Okay.
1980.
Yeah, I was thinking, you were making me think about a movie. I think it was The Help, actually, that was set in the 60s, the early 60s. Yeah. And they had someone in the movie, like, I thought the hair overall was really great, but one of them had like hair that had more dimension and more like a dark and a light. Like, you have the dark in the back and the lighter on the top. And in the 60s, it was all one color. There was like Miss Clairol, and it was solid. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of dimension.
Right. And see, now those are the problems that we run into sometimes. Like now, the same person, that's a friend of mine that was a department head on that. And she also was a department head on Black Panther. Okay. So and another friend, a couple of my friends worked on it. But the challenge sometimes that you have is that you may have an actress who has this contemporary hair color, and they're like, she's like, no, I can't color my hair.
Right.
But you signed up for this role. I know, but I can't color my hair. Oh, and then they're like, well, we don't have, and she may not be number like 1 through 10. She might be number 18 who has a recurring role. So they're like, well, we'll just get a wig. But we don't have $20,000 for her to wear a wig.
Right.
For her to have a wig. So, so sometimes, and I always tell people, because I look at my work all the time, and I see sometimes I'm like, everything doesn't come out great, but I look sometimes and I look at work and I critique it in my head, but I know in the back of my mind, I said, I would bet, I'm not a gambling man, but I would bet 2 pennies that was probably not the hairdresser's issue. Because I've had it happen where an actress, I prepped them to go on set, and they don't call them to set for 3 hours, and they go back to their trailer, go to sleep, and they say, okay, they need to see you in hair and makeup. And they say, oh no, they can touch me up on set. And then there's like, okay, when they get on set, they're like, okay, action. I'm like, no, we have to, and I'm like, okay, well, her lace was perfect before she got on set. And, so, I mean, I understand the challenges that we have. So sometimes it isn't always our fault, because I've experienced it. But there are those times when you're like, that's one of those times when you go, anybody else notice?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it sounds, like interesting, like kind of no 2 days alike.
Never.
Sure.
Never.
So what was like the biggest surprise to you with getting into that aspect of the business?
Oh my gosh. In terms of, what do you mean? Like, what do you, like, you mean in terms of what I had to do,
Yeah,
or?
good surprise, bad surprise, like, "Oh my goodness, I never thought about this," or "I never thought this would be,"
Well, every day is an interesting day. Every day is an interesting day. I mean, even though when you're shooting, sometimes you might be shooting the same scene for like 3 days, so you have to match that hair up for 3 days in a row,
Okay.
and so that But even though you're doing that, there's a new challenge every day. I mean, like I could not believe, like, I remember one time, like, because I work in a union, we have specific rules. You can't, like, how you want to stay late at the salon 2 and 3 a.m. in the morning. When they say cut, you got to go. When
Yeah.
they say we're ready for them, we're ready for them. You can't hold camera, and
Right.
you have to be on time. When I say on time, if you tell them your actress will be ready in 45 minutes, they mean 45 minutes, not 46, not 48. You
Right.
can be early, you can't be late. And
Okay.
that was like kind of like, and I didn't, what I think amazed me was that I didn't understand. I'm trying to do everything I can, and then we got an actor that comes in 30 minutes late, and I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And it took me a while to understand that some things are not under my control, but you have to always let people know. Okay, now the actress is 30 minutes late. She didn't get into my chair for 30 minutes. So that 45 minutes starts from 30, not from the 30, it starts from the moment she sits in my chair, not from the 30 minutes she was late, you
Okay.
know? And what was really the most amazing thing to me was when you work with actors and actresses, when I see them, when they come in hair and makeup, they don't have any hair and makeup. And when they go to wardrobe, they don't have any clothes, But when they come into the trailer and they talk to you, they literally talk to you. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna say any names. I'm like, wow, this is Diane Carroll. I'm like, oh wow, this is Miss Carroll. Da, 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 da. And if she were to come into the trailer, she would like, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? I'm Diane. I'm like, hi, Miss Carroll. No, I'm Diane. Because I did that one time to an actor. I did it to an actor only because I was like, he's an older actor, and I was like, wow, you're Mr. So-and-so. And he's like, no, my name is so-and-so. And I was just blown away how they were like, oh wow, do you know any place to go eat? I'm like, I'm new in the city. I'm like, you asking me that? So it was really it was weird that
Right.
they were so human. Like, are you feeling okay today? Yeah, I'm fine. Oh, okay, because you're not smiling. Oh, I'm sorry. They're amazing people, and they are human. So some days they have bad days. Some days they have better days and bad days.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I could totally feel what you were experiencing as you were explaining it. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, when I met, when I met Octavia Spencer,
Hmm.
she was so wonderful to me. I was, excuse me. We were going to hang out one night. Myself, and Charles and I were going to go to have dinner. Now, at that time, I used to drive a two-seater. So I went to pick Charles up, and Octavia said, well, pick me up. I said, well, I got a two-seater. She said, so. Charles jumped in the back of the car. Octavia sat in the front. And I mean, we literally, I'm like, this is so cool. Octavia Spencer is in my car right next to me. Charles is squeezed in the back. And then when we got ready to leave, Octavia said, I'm gonna get in the back. I'm like, okay. I mean, those are moments that it's just unbelievable.
Right. Right.
I mean, and I work with Octavia Spencer. I work with Jennifer Lopez. I worked with Viola Davis. I mean, I've worked with a lot of Reese Witherspoon. It's a lot of people that I've had the pleasure of working with. Angela Bassett. So many great talents, and they've all been like really, really great. They've been wonderful. I mean, but you just have to understand that they are human,
Right.
and
Right.
they can have a good day and a bad
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, wow. It's like, so is there any certain protocol, like, they're, introducing themselves by first name or what have you, and want to form a
Hey,
relationship?
however they introduce themselves is
Hmm.
how I call them.
Right.
There are certain actors I would never. I worked with Cicely Tyson twice,
Hmm.
and I didn't do her hair, but I was in the trailer, and I don't care what they introduced her as. No matter what they said, I was always going to call her Miss Tyson
Right.
because there's just no way she's royalty.
Royalty,
But
yes.
9 times out of 10, they come in and try to like, this is Octavia, this is Viola, this is Jennifer, and that's, and then there are some actors that want you to call them by their character name the whole time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Like when I work on The Walking Dead, I worked on The Walking Dead for 9 seasons,
Wow.
and it's been on 10 seasons. And I remember the very first season I went out there, that was one of those shows where when people think, oh, I'm going to work in TV and film, wow, wow, wow. I got to The Walking Dead. We worked in the middle of a cow patch. We had on, it was 100 degrees outside. I had on boots, long pants, long sleeve shirt, hat, and more bug spray than anything. And you know what was in my set bag? A can of spray water and what we call dirt. That's
Okay.
all I used the whole season. I didn't have a
wow.
comb, a brush, or anything. All I did was make people sweaty and put dirt in their hair. So, there are moments like that. And then there are moments like when I did Single Ladies with Lisa Ray and Stacey Dash, where everything was beauty and glamorous. And I was like, right up my alley. But, there are those moments when it's not about dirt. I mean, when it's not about beauty and glamour, it's,
Right.
and that's what's really important too, is that when you get ready to go into this, when you have that opportunity, it's not a time for you to show them when they say, oh, okay, well, you're in background, this is the look, whatever. That's not a time for them to show you the best thing that you can do to stand out. That's a time for you to follow instructions. And if they say they needed a mushroom, that's what they asked for. They said everybody needs a mushroom. It's not a time for you to part it to the side and swoop it to the left. That's the time for you to do the mushroom. And that's
Okay.
what they
And I would take it that you need to know what a mushroom is. It's like if you're one
right.
of the younger
Well, I was a
stylists.
certain age,
Yeah.
but it is important that you do your research too. You may only get a call like a day before. I've gotten a call, I still get calls like when I do I'm day playing. I don't always department head, I don't always key in between shows. Somebody might call me and say, hey, are you available? Can you come over and help us? Yeah. So I'm in background working. I get those calls and I say, well, what show is it? And they may be like, Walking Dead. And I'll be like, okay, is it daytime, nighttime exteriors, interiors, what have you? Is it dirt? So they give you a quick synopsis, of what's expected of you. And you got to have your kit and you got to have everything you need in your kit. Now you can't take 6 trunks, but you got to have everything you need in this kit, and you got to be prepared for anything. And there's nothing wrong with asking, when
Okay.
there's nothing wrong with saying, oh my gosh, do you have any dirt? Do you have any blood? These are things that are staples in my kit sometimes,
Wow.
dirt and blood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Right, okay.
Yeah. So tell us, you mentioned the terms, and I wanted to go through those, like the key hairstylist, the department head hairstylist. What are the differences between all of those? And like you mentioned,
Okay,
working background.
okay. Department head is the number one, is the person who's in charge. I hire the team. I establish the looks for the talent. The key is the number 2, the second person, second person, and they pretty much are nobody is anybody's assistant. Everybody's the full-on hairstylist. If you work in background, if you work in the trailer, because you could be the third. They really only have 2 terms. That's department head, which is the number 1, and key, which is the number 2. Everybody else is considered an additional hairstylist. But whatever you are, you're there to do hair. You're not there to hold anybody's hairpins. You're
Okay.
not there I mean, it's if you're not busy and you see your stylist as your partner's over there getting ready to do some work, and you see like, well, here, let me hand you some pins. You're getting ready to wrap that hair. You need me to hold something for you. That's one thing. But when your talent comes in there, it's your turn. You got to get on your job and do your work. So those are pretty much it. The department head runs the show, hires the team. The key, is another hairstylist. He's the second in command. So if I'm not there to respond to a question, because I can't be on set at all times and I can't be in the trailer at all times. So if there's an issue, if you can't find me, go to the key.
Okay.
And it's important that you have really good conversation because people don't realize how important it is until you get in that situation. Where were you? Oh, I went to craft services. I need to know that. I need to know if you go to the restroom. I need to know if you step off set because it's one integral team and everybody is important. We're all there to do the same thing. We're there to make a show.
Right, right. Yeah. And that totally makes sense. And it's interesting because it feels like in the industry now there's kind of a pull against working as a team. And,
Yeah.
like you say, when you go there, you need to be able to follow directions and give them exactly what they want, and not, it's like, well, I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get a lot of opportunities to do to really push your levels of creativity
Hmm.
to the other side. Like I just did a TV show. It's a pilot called DMZ, and I was working on that show. It's the last show I worked on, and it was myself and Charles, and it's Ava DuVernay is the director. She was directing, and she was also, I want to say she was the creator. I know she directed. Anyway, there was a particular scene that we were doing, and it was like these group of people that had these very avant-garde looks, but there were groups of them. So this particular group may have had white hair, and this particular group may have had pink hair. This one may have had orange hair, but they were like, some of them may have been like also with the pink hair, they may have been like grungy looking or whatever. So you had to match them all up. That was so much fun. I mean, it was like, okay, they got green hair, go.
Okay.
Do whatever it is you do. Just do it. Now you still don't have to, you got to do it fast now. You don't have a whole lot of time still. Don't like they say you got 30 minutes for each one. But that was a lot of fun. But like I said, there's the times on The Walking Dead, 400 background, and all you're gonna do is spray water on them and put dirt in their hair. And there's another time when we were doing another season of Walking Dead where there was a group of background and
Is that your phone?
yeah, that's my phone.
I'm
I'm
hearing
sorry.
something. Okay.
Yeah. We were working on background, and there was a particular look. Everybody in background had to have their hair slicked back to right here, and then the rest of it, and everybody had long hair, and then the rest of it was just falling free. So they wanted it slicked back. So we had to wet their hair, gel them, spray them, and it was an exterior shot in the middle of the summer. So that meant people were out there sweating. So we had to figure out a way to get these people slicked down and stay through the sweat, because you can't have people start falling apart. So, yeah, there are those times and that's where you got to think on the dime, like, okay, I got them slicked down. Now I got to make sure they stay. And how can I do it fast?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's a lot of what we do is work thinking outside of the box. You got to think when they, I remember one time they wanted an actress to jump in the water. And I said, when did y'all come up with that idea? I said, that ain't in the script, and that ain't even, I said, it's not even on today's shooting call. They were like, oh, the director woke up last night and decided. I was like, oh, hold up. Okay, now y'all do understand, it's called we call it a one and done, where they shoot it one time and they're done.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I said, now is this gonna be a one and done? Well, we're not sure. Okay. Now, every time she jumps in that water and her head goes under that water, she's got to be reset. Now I'm gonna need an hour to put her back together, because she's not coming in fresh and dry. She's soaking wet. So I got to pull that wig off, dry that wig. I got to have two or three people drying the wig, trying to make sure her wrap under the wig is done. And then they got to go to makeup, and then they got to go to costumes, all this stuff. Needless to say, when I said I need an hour, they were like, oh, never mind. She can walk around the pool. But if they may have said, okay, well, you got the hour.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's a lot of things that you have to do. When you got to watch that continuity, you got to make sure that everyone's hair matches. You can't have somebody's hair going on this side one day and on this side the other day, because that does happen. I've seen it. You can't have somebody walk in, and it's called continuity. But you can't have somebody walk in the ballroom. I've seen it. That's why I know. I saw somebody come in the ball with the hair up, and by the time they left the ball, the hair was down. It's like, well, what happened there? Oh, they shot that on more than one day, and nobody looked in the continuity book.
Right. Yeah, we saw one. Actually, my friend caught it where when you saw her from here, she had two little tendrils down here with a ponytail or whatever, but every time they would show the back shot, it was all smooth. You know, there was nothing hanging on the,
Yeah.
and it kept kind of going back and forth. And it's like, it's like
And when you're watching it, you're like, wait a minute, you know. And I'm gonna say this, and I tell people this all the time. I need to turn some light on. What's that? There we go. I tell people this all the time. You have to be really careful on social media. You know, you don't know where your next job is going to come from. And I always say that, you know, if you see something that you don't like, I wouldn't comment on it. You know, you'll see people that are sit up there and say, oh my God, did you see the hair on such and such? You don't know who's watching that. Like on my social media, I've got directors, I've got actors, I've got producers. And I just, you know, and on top of that, I got my other friends in the union. And I know who did this and know who did that. And I know sometimes what happens, but you don't know who's reading that.
right.
So you don't want to get on social media and dog anybody's work out. Because that, you know, there may be a time when there might be something coming to Texas and they may need a hairstyle. My friends will reach out. You know anybody in Texas? I may not know anybody in Texas, but I might look on social media like, oh, there's so-and-so, call them. But then I might be like, oh, wait a minute, they said that. Never mind. You know, because once you put it out there, so once it's in the internet, it don't go anywhere.
Exactly.
So, you know, be very careful. I don't comment one way or the other. Did you see how fabulous her hair looked? Next. I don't comment one way or the other.
Right.
I just stay neutral.
That's the best thing.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the union. Like, what is that? How do you get into it? I've heard that's a challenge, and
it is a challenge. You have to work. I think it's 180 days on a union project over the course of, I think you have 3 years. Okay. And once you get your 180 days on a union project, then you are allowed to submit your application to the union. Now you can go on 798, like Google 798 hair and makeup, because that's my union, 798.
Okay.
And it pops up every which kind of way. But if you put in 798 hair and makeup, it will take you to the website or the public website where it will give you all of the particulars. But you have to work on a union project, and and I tell this to people: if you want to be in TV and film, you need to be where they film it. You're not going to really get a whole lot of work in Kansas.
Right.
You're not going to get a lot of work in Kansas. But like for people that live like in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, they film a lot of stuff up there. So, you know, you got to stay well connected, and, you know, you almost got to keep your ear to the ground. But, you know, getting into the union, you gotta put your time in, and it isn't always easy to get those days because we are in a union. We have to hire our union brothers and sisters first. But once we exhaust that list, then we reach out to people, and we, you know, and it's not always about, because you're doing background, you know, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's not like you're following the principles. You're doing background. So it's best that you always remember this. My Charles told me this the first day. He said, you have to be able to play on the playground with the other children.
Yeah.
I was like, what? He's like, you have to be able to play on the playground with the other children. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, just think about what I said. And I realized what he said. I said, oh, I got to be able to get along with everybody. He was like, yes, because you don't know who's going to give you your next job, and you don't know who is who. So just be nice to everybody. And I've always looked at it like that. So, you know, that's how I look at it. Be able to get along with everybody. Everybody's your friend. Everybody, hello, hi, how you doing? You know, but, you know, you got to get those days, and there's a lot of, once you get your days in and you're able to submit, you have to pay a fee, which is it's a lot of money. You pay your fee, then you have to go to you have to send up pictures of your work. You have to have a telephone interview. You have to be a licensed cosmetologist. Okay. You also have to have, in order to complete your 180 days, you have to save every single paycheck stub from the day you started.
Okay.
Because that is the way you want, when you send that FedEx envelope about this thick, but you have to save your paycheck stubs so that you can validate that you worked on those shows. Even though they know in New York they know it because they have to send it through New York anyway. But you got to save those and you got to submit all that. And then once you go through the process, then they say, well, we would like to invite you to New York at your expense to come up and have this sit down interview with us. And then after that, then they send you back and you wait some more time, and then they go through it and they yay or nay you, you know. But you gotta be well versed in everything, you know. And now is a big opportunity for barbers. You know, barbers are really big in the industry. I generally have 1 to 2 barbers in my trailer, because you know, a lot of times, you know, and I'm gonna just say this because in we're having a big discussion globally about African Americans having representation in the trailer as actors. You know,
Okay.
so we're having a big discussion about that now. We're trying to figure out how to level the playing field, but you have to be well versed in everything you do. You just can't be the king of or the queen of a silk press. You got to be able to maybe cut an afro. You might be able to, you got to know how to put up a French twist. And I'm not talking about the French twist from the 80s or the 90s, you know, might be that one from the 60s and 70s that started really narrow in the back and then came up, you know, or, you know, you got to make sure that it's not this tall. It may be only this tall, you know.
Right, right.
You know? So I mean, you got to be well versed in everything, and you got to have a lot of stuff, and you got to be able to listen. And if you don't know, ask somebody. When I have a challenge, if I think of, like, I'll give you a situation. I was doing on Black Panther, and I had to do a stunt double. Yeah, it was a stunt double, and the stunt double, they're not going to see the face. They're only going to see the silhouette. So the principal had longer hair in the front, but in the back, it was kind of long. It was a Caucasian actor, so kind of stringy in the back. Well, the actor that they sent me the picture of, the stunt double, whole back of his head was cropped really close. It's like, oh, really, y'all? Come on. Why y'all going to do this to me tonight? So I had to think quickly about how to solve this problem of him not having hair. And I got to have all this stuff also in my trailer. So I thought about it, and I was like kind of at my wit's end. But whenever I get into a problem, I always think like, I'm like, okay, I can call Charles, or I can call Taylor, or I can call Vincent, or I can call Camille, or Nikki, like my friends that are in the industry. I'm like, listen, what do you need? What do I need to do? It's not about being so big that you're like, I know everything, because I get the calls. People call me, but you think about things like that. But so anyway, I was thinking like, do I need to call somebody? And then all of a sudden I thought, okay, I got to get this to make it happen real quick. I had to go and he was a dirty blonde. And so I had to run up and I had to look in the cabinet. I had to pull out these boxes full of weave and, you know, find some tracks, and I had to cut the tracks up. And then the man had a bald spot up here. And I was like, you gonna shave your head in the top? No, I'm not. So then I was like, oh my gosh. So then what ended up really happening was I had a man's wig, but it was cropped close in back. We glued some hair on the back of the wig. We put the wig on top, and we shaved the bald spot out of the wig, and then we painted the bald spot flesh tone. Wow. All of that for him to go like this. That's how much you saw of him. So,
that's funny.
Yeah. So I mean, those are.
So how long did you have to like come up with the idea and execute it and get this person so they're ready to go on set?
That was one of those times when I had plenty of time, but I didn't have plenty of time. I had hours because he came in at the crack of dawn, because that's where it always gets tricky. You know, when you see him the night before and they're putting together the call sheet, and you're like, okay, I need, you know, you always overshoot. I'm like, I need 3 hours, because you know they're not going to give you 3 hours. So you shoot for 3 hours, like, well, what about an hour and a half? What about 2? Well, what about an hour and 45? What about 2.5? So you go back and forth, then you finally get your time. But then they got to go, because they're stunt performers, they got to go through rehearsal. They got to go practice the fight, or how to jump off the bridge, or how to get beat up, or whatever. So they got to sit in rehearsal for an hour or 2. And then you get them. But, you know, we had enough time. And that was one of those times where I was like, okay, you get the weave out and start separating the tracks, and then I'm going to pull the wig out because the wig got to be washed, and it's got to be, we got to start shaving it. I mean, it was a team effort. It was a team effort, but that was one of those days where those things happen, and you have to be able to adapt in any situation. And you got to, and you can't tell it. If the director says, I need her to jump in the water, you got to be ready for it. Now, you can go back and talk to the director and say, that's probably not a good idea. And they might say, okay, then they may not. So there are those situations.
I don't even know what happened. Something with my phone. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But that whole scenario is like, wow. A lot of thinking, and it sounds like that's where the creativity is, that it's not necessarily creating these avant-garde looks, but it's in, how do we do this today?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. How do we, I did, when we were doing Council of Dads,
okay,
the lead actor, they were having this scene where the actor and his son were going to jump off this rope into the water. Now, that was fine until they brought the stunt double in, and the stunt double, the principal had a short haircut. Again, he's got a short hair. It's a little bit longer in the back. It wasn't cropped really close, but he had a shorter haircut. The stunt double has hair all the way down to here in the front. I'm like, well, you gonna cut it? No. Okay, so what are we gonna do? So, and he's got to jump in the water. We literally had to rig his hair with all these clips and create, because it's all about silhouette. They're not going to see his face. Mm-hmm. And if the camera's on the face, the camera's on the wrong part of the shot.
Right.
Okay? So, we just got to create the silhouette. And he's going to have to jump in this water like 3 times at least. And we ain't got, we don't have time to go back to the trailer and redo it. We got to make sure it lasts on the spot. I literally phoned a friend. I said, I got to have an actor jump in the water 3 times, and we ain't got no time to blow dry and reset or anything. They told me this product to use. They said, just spray it in there, dry it in there, and they'll be able to jump in the water 3 times without it moving. And they literally were. Like, the guy's actor's hair was down to here, but it looked like in the picture, that in the silhouette, like he had a little short cropped hairstyle.
Okay. Wow.
But I had to phone a friend.
Yes, that sounds like the little list with the, what is it? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah, I had to phone a friend. And those are things, those are the challenges that, like, we work with, like, on a regular basis.
Right.
But it is so rewarding. It is so gratifying. And I love every moment of it. Even when I'm out there, I got to try and duck the ticks or whatever, but I love every minute of it.
So what would you say are the benefits? I think that's what everybody kind of thinks of, the glam or whatever, but what are the benefits that you see?
I don't want to say like it's another part of my career. Uh-huh. And I didn't choose this part of it. I wanted, like I said, I wanted to be a platform artist or whatever. But it's the satisfaction in knowing that, I'm gonna tell you, to be perfectly honest, see your name go across the screen. Mm-hmm. that is the very first time I saw my name roll in the credits. That was everything for me. And I'm sitting up there watching, the credits roll by real fast, so I got to slow it down and click the picture or whatever. But that was like, oh my gosh, I'm on, like, my name is up there,
right,
on the screen. That was the first thing. But then beyond that, then it became, am I doing my job to the expectation of the satisfaction of the directors, the writers, the creators, and the producers? Are they, am I getting notes? Because, if things don't go right, you get a note.
Oh, okay.
We got a note from the producer or a note from the director, and when you get things like, we didn't have any notes, job well done.
Okay.
Or when you meet these directors and these producers, and it's rewarding when you go on a show. And I did Love Is, and the lead in the show, Michelle, I I met her and she was the number one, and I did her hair for the whole season, and I was the department head. Then I went to do Council of Dads, and I said, "Oh, Michelle is in this." Her name is Michelle Weaver.
Mm.
She was also the star. No, she wasn't the number one. She was in the top 5. And I said, "Oh, I know Michelle." And when she came, she's like, "Wow!" You know, that was a great feeling. But then the number one, Sarah, who I had worked with on The Walking Dead, and I didn't know if she remembered me or not, but she came in because she got killed off like seasons ago. But she came in and she said, "I know you." I said, "We worked on The Walking Dead." She's like, "Oh my gosh." That's a great feeling.
Uh-huh.
That's a great
Right.
feeling to know, like, when actors are like, "Aren't you so-and-so?" Or when you can jog somebody's memory, you know, when you see these actors, or, you know, those are great feelings. Or when you watch your work go across the screen and you're like, "Oh, wow, that's my work."
Right.
And it looks good. Even those days when you go like this, you still go like, "It don't look good." You know, I mean, it's all in what you make of it. I think I wanted to, when I got in it, I wanted to do it. Anything I want to do, I want to give 100% of.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to be the best at it. And I wanted to make sure that I represented the people that got me into the union. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that I represented for them well. That when my name was mentioned, they said, "Oh, don't hire him." You know, I'm not a celebrity stylist. I work with celebrities. They don't, celebrities are the ones that come and sit in your chair.
Right.
You know, we're not the celebrities, not by a long shot.
Right. Right.
And,
Right.
so they're the ones that come in, and when they come in and they're like, "Oh gosh," I never will forget. I was doing Survivor's Remorse, and season 1, Tashina Arnold was getting fitted for her wig. And when I tell you, Tashina is a lovely, lovely, lovely person. She's the same person 24/7. She's so much fun, everything. But she came in to get her wig fitting and do her screen test. She literally sat down and she was on her, whatever that thing is, doing work, whatever, talking to whatever, whatever. And did her hair, it was a lace front wig. We had fitted it on her and everything. I turned her around and I said, "Well, what do you think?" She literally did like this. She said, "Do you like it?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, that's fine then," because she said, "I'm here to act." She said, "If you like it, I like it. Let's go. I got to show this."
Right.
And that was just like, "Really? That's it?" She's like, "I'm good. Look, I gotta go. Get the wig off me. Let's go. Let's do what we got to do." And I thought that made me feel so wonderful, because there are a lot of actors that really are like, that sit with their head down, and then they look up and they're like, "What do you think?" "Oh, it's fine. Come on, let's go. I gotta go. I gotta do my line."
Right.
That they're in the craft. They know that I'm just playing a character.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so I haven't had that experience of somebody being a prima donna. I'm sure there have been, but
Right.
I haven't had that experience.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you were mentioning the credits. It's like that is something that I do. It's like any movie that I go to see. It's like I sit there and I watch and wait. And it's like, okay, it's like I've got to see the credits. So
Yeah, and
kudos to you.
it's a great feeling, and a lot of stuff, like, I take pictures with celebrities and stuff, and that's not really for me. That's for my mom, so she can show her friends. But there are those moments, and I always tell people, when you first come on this, you have to stay in your lane. That's so important. Stay in your lane. There are 4 departments that really interact with each other. That's makeup, hair, sound. That's the people that mics the actors,
Yep.
and wardrobe. Now, you don't you when they come to put the coat on, you might need to be there to hold the hair up, because they're going to put the coat on. They don't care nothing about the hair. They'll put the coat on, and the hair get caught in the collar. And you have to be there, because they're not going to pull it out.
Right.
Nobody's going to pull it out. And I remember one time, I saw a piece of lint on an actor's coat, and I went to grab it, and somebody said, "Leave that alone. Call wardrobe." I said, "Huh?" They said, "Wardrobe." They said, "That's not your department." They were like, "Oh, thank you so much for calling us. Thank you. There's a piece of lint. I got it." And if or if you see, like, you might see an actress that has, maybe she got lipstick on her teeth. You're like, "Hey, we need makeup over here." You don't
Mm,
want to tell the actress, "Girl, you got lipstick on your teeth." You just
right.
quietly call makeup and say, "They got lipstick on their teeth." Or they'll call you. They say, "Hey, we need hair." Stay in your lane, and don't ever, ever, ever let an actor ask for your opinion. What do you think about this lipstick? I don't know. It looks good to me. Do you think it's a good color? It looks great. I don't know. I don't do makeup. Really? Well, do
Right.
you think? No, I don't know. Why don't you call makeup over here? What do you think about? Does this dress look good on me? Looks great. I don't have an opinion.
Exactly.
Stay in your lane because you can. It's just what you have to respect people's job. If there's makeup on, glitter is our enemy. God, I hate when we have to do like, we got to do a scene. Like I've done enough shows where I've had to be in a strip club and they throw that glitter around. I'm like, that's the devil. Glitter is the devil. So, you're sitting up there trying to get glitter out of people's hair and,
Right.
like they got glitter on the face and you're telling makeup like, hey, y'all missed a piece. It's a piece right here. So, but, there are things like that, but I love what I do. And I think it's been one of the most rewarding things that I've done in my career.
Wow. Wow. Well, tell us about the impact of COVID-19 with the industry. I mean, with Charles is absolutely one thing, but
Yeah.
you could
Well,
talk.
let's see. I have been in my house since probably March 16th.
Okay.
We have not gone back to work yet. They're just starting to reopen. Tyler Perry Studios they're shooting right now. They were the first to start shooting. They shot their first set of shows last couple of weeks ago. So they're the first ones open. I was literally when we shut down, when COVID happened, I was prepping to go to Savannah. I had a show in Savannah I was going to do. I was going to leave. I stopped shooting on Sunday. I had to start packing because I was leaving for Savannah on March 19th and I would be there through June. And,
Oh,
literally my show got pushed back. First they started off with, oh, we'll push back 2 weeks. Nobody knew. So they're like, you'll still come down on Thursday and you'll be here for 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I ain't coming down there on Thursday. Literally by right Wednesday, they're like, oh, well, we're pushing back for 30 days. So everything got pushed. And then I literally got an email probably about a month ago that the show has been canceled.
wow.
But I mean, we're waiting now. Shows are starting to open back up, but it has presented a lot of challenges. Not for necessarily us, because as hair people, we know sanitation is sterilization. We already know that.
Right.
But people above the line, like directors and producers, they're the executives, they're trying to do our job and they're trying to figure out, because we're the ones, makeup, hair, and costumes and sound, we have direct contact with the actors. Everyone else, they don't necessarily have to have contact with them. So they were trying to figure it out. And they were telling us things like, oh, you're going to have to use a different comb on every actor. I'm like, what do you think? We have one comb for 55 actors? Do you really think that? It was things like that. And like makeup department said, well, I think we got one tube of lipstick. So it has presented some challenges, but we're starting to work through that. We're waiting now, like day by day, we're starting to get calls. Offices are going to open back up, but it's going to be very, very different. When we go back, there won't be what we call double teaming, where, an actor's late and they're like, can you do hair and makeup at the same time? Won't be none of that.
Right.
They're just going to have to wait, because everybody's going to be at risk until they come up with a cure or vaccine or something. Our shooting days won't be nearly as long. I mean, I've shot 21 hours. I mean, that's a rarity, but I shot 21 hours. I mean, now they're going to, the average day for me is between 12 and 14 hours every day.
Okay.
So that's going to probably shorten it down to 12 hours. Everybody's going to have to be tested. There's a lot of protocols in place. We're going to be wearing visors and masks. There's going to be, it is hard because we are a big family. When you work on a show, like I was on Black Lightning for 7 months. I saw those actors every day for 7 months. I saw my coworkers every day for 7 months. We celebrated birthdays. We broke for Thanksgiving. We broke for Christmas. We came back. You see an actor like, maybe an actor had wasn't in this episode, so you didn't see them for like 12 days, and then they come back and they're like, hey, how you doing? And they hugging you. Or when we got ready to wrap, and everyone is saying their goodbyes and you're hugging and you're trying not to cry. And then on Black Lightning, we had some younger actors that were phenomenal actors. I mean, young people that like they had got like this was their big break or whatever, like they were like almost in tears. I'm like, if you don't stop that, And now when we come back, we can't hug these people.
Right.
We just have to air hug people. And, I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I was saying to you, I'm going to give you the biggest air hug. She's like, no, we're going to put on some hazmat suits so we can hug. We're
Okay.
not going to be able to hug one another. We're going to have to figure all that out. So it does present a lot of challenges, and it's for our own safety, and everyone else's safety.
Right.
Because no matter what anybody thinks, it has a propensity to kill people.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. The world as we know it, I think, is completely changed, at least for a good little while. So yeah, the same things in the salon. So I don't even know where we are time wise. It looks like we're doing pretty good, but I don't want to end without talking about, race in terms of, you mentioned earlier how Black actors are trying to get together to have more representation. And what is it like in the industry from like behind the scenes? Is there a good amount of representation?
It's not enough. It's not enough. There really isn't enough. And I don't really like to get too bogged in the minutia about it, but
Right.
There is a definite need for us in the trailer. And there's always talk, but I mean, it was a huge deal. I mean, I can't remember Gabrielle Union. I think Gabrielle Union started it when she did Napoli Ever After.
Mm-hmm.
The department head on that show doesn't look like me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the person that's running the show. And the
Okay.
number one looks just like me. So you have challenges like that. And I'm on a committee in my union to work on diversity within the trailer. And I will say this, I said when I was in the last Zoom meeting, I said, it's kind of unfortunate sometimes when you look at a cast and you see that everyone in the cast looks like me, and then you go in the trailer and nobody looks like me.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to work on that. We really are trying to work on it. But the difference being is that people that look like us have to be able to do everybody's hair. People
Right.
that don't look like us don't have to, and it's okay. And
Okay.
it's okay. It's okay. And when you see those things, and I'll give you an example of what I'm seeing, a big trend right now. Everybody's wearing natural hair. And of course, a lot of talent wears wigs, and I understand that. But I looked at a show recently. I don't even know what show it is. And I looked at this show, and I don't know who was in the department, but I knew what nobody in the department looked like me, because all of the actresses on the show had the same wig on. And they were about 30 years in age difference. One was the mother and one was the daughter.
Okay.
The mother's hair was lighter and the daughter's hair was darker, but it was this big curly wig.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they just were like, oh, let's put a curly wig on her. We can do that. So I look at things like that. And, I see that trend. Like if you start watching shows and you start looking, like natural hair is a big thing, and it's important. And it needs to be represented well, but you'll start looking, and now if you look on the show, and now you see these big old curly wigs that don't have no shape, no style, nothing. They went to the wig shop, bought a wig, shook it out, put it on their head, and that's it. And that's what it looks like, and it's unfortunate. But we are trying, again, we have to be able to do all textures and all types of hair to represent in the union, because they will throw that on us and like, oh, you can't do that? Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Because I've been a department head on a show where nobody looked like me in the cast.
Right.
I department headed the show. I department headed the show. I did the show. It was called The Act. It was a TV series called The Act. It was on Hulu. And the number one was Patricia Arquette. Patricia had a personal come in from New York. So, and then the number two, her name is Joey King. Joey King does this. She's done these TV movies called Kissing Booth. She's huge, wonderful young lady. Day one, I had to shave her head bald. Walked in, shaved her head bald. I was like, hi, Joey, I'm Ralph. Hi, Ralph, how are you? Have a seat, shave your head bald. Now, in that cast, the one person that looked like me, she had just a little bit more hair than I did. That was it. But I department head of the show where everyone in the cast didn't look like me.
Right.
And that's okay. I mean, my resume spoke for itself.
Right.
But sometimes they just like, oh, the resume speaks for itself, and then they don't look like me, and you know, it is what it is,
Hmm.
unfortunately. But
Yeah,
we're getting there. We're getting there.
yeah, yeah. And we appreciate, the service that you do, by being there and by being a department head and being able to see and, kind of guide the direction and have these conversations with, like you say, the different levels of people that are involved with the movies. I think it can only help make our presence, better, our beauty more accepted, all of those types of things, when you are working on, um, you know, actors and talent that looks like us. So,
Yeah, it does. It does. And it makes it, I mean, you should see sometimes when they come in the trailer and they're like, oh, hey. I'm like, hi. They're happy to see us.
right, right.
They're happy.
Yeah, because I would assume that you guys are a surprise to the talent when they come in, as far as who's
Yeah,
going to be doing hair and makeup on the set. Is that
yeah.
accurate?
Some,
Okay.
I mean, sometimes you are, like certain actors, like those actors that are just like, I'm just here to do, they might say, I want to be wigged for that. And then you'll have interaction with them because you got to get the wig fitted and custom made and everything.
Uh-huh.
They'll meet you. Then there are those times when, they come in and they're like, you meet in prep. That's it. That's the first time you meet them. Come on in, we're going to do the screen test and that's it. And they're looking, they're like, yay. And then sometimes they're like, you know, I've heard stories where like I walked in and nobody looked like me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. It's like I don't know if anybody else got a lot out of it, but I sure did.
Well,
And I don't
I'm
know
so
if anybody has any questions. We do want to answer or take some of those. It's like I'm going to try to see if I can sneak over to Facebook to see. That has a thing. Nope, I don't want to do that. I'm still navigating how to do all of these things. Will it be saved to watch later? Yes, it will. It's like it is recording. I'm always like looking in the corner, making sure it's recording. So it's like, so as of right now, it is. So that is a lovely thing. So let me see if I can jump on over. Any other questions? It's like, Ralph, I think you covered so much.
I
Um,
try.
what did you say?
I try. I think that the opportunities that we get sometimes we can't, I think some people are trying to hold on to too much information, and I'm trying to give it all to you. I'm like, look, let me give you all that I got, all that I have I can share.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm really appreciative, and it's like we appreciate just your generosity in terms of what you're sharing. I see a lot of great interviews from there, very informative. It was great. Got a lot of folks on the Beauty Superstars page. I think someone asked on here, where will they be able to find it later? Since you registered, it's like you will get a replay link sent to your email. It should be within, I like to say 48 hours. It probably will be sooner, but just to give us a little cushion. And for some reason, it's like I have difficulty opening up the all of the comments on Facebook while we're actually on. And I see one that says, do you think there'll be many background days due to COVID? And I'm not sure what that means.
That means before COVID, we would have days where like you might have like 500 background, and within that you'd have to call in additional day players, and that's how a lot of people get their days. And
Oh, okay.
there has been a lot of talk about they're going to be cutting, when they think of background now, they're like there won't be any more of those big 2 and 300 background, because there's no way to test them. And there's also been talk that they're going to hire like 50 background at the beginning of the season,
Hmm.
and they're going to use the same background for the whole season, and they just have to just recirculate them. Or they've said that if they need to have a huge background day, they said that they're gonna shoot it all. Like if they need it for like 3 days or something in 3 different episodes, they just have to shoot it all at one time. But they said that that's a really big stretch. But no, they're probably like, I understand at Tyler Perry Studios that there is no background at all.
Mm.
They're
Okay.
not using any background.
Interesting.
Yeah. But
Interesting.
who's to say as we move forward and we are navigating through this, how things will change?
Right, right. Yeah, I think we've all seen that everything is just kind of day by day, one day at a time, and you
Yeah.
know, seeing
Yeah.
what comes up today. And it's like, especially in the beginning, it's like you get one bit of information that says do this, and then you get the next day, don't do that. So
Yeah.
it will evolve. And someone
Yeah.
wants to know, what's set etiquette?
Set etiquette. Woo, boy, that's a deep one right there. That's a good question. That's an excellent question. Set etiquette is things like learning where you're supposed to be at certain times. Like we have what's called Video Village. And at Video Village, there are monitors that the director, the producers, the writers, some of the execs sit behind. They have monitors and they sit there with headphones on and they watch what's going on. And that's also they have and people tend to gravitate around Video Village to see those monitors. Well, set etiquette means don't you go over there. Don't go over there. Because
Okay.
there are some directors that it will like, yeah, everybody come on, gather around. Then there's some directors that are like, I don't need anybody over here at Village at all. And we have our own set of monitors in hair and makeup. We have our own set of monitors and it's like hair, makeup, costumes. We're all there together and we're watching the monitors. But like some of the things that are like really important in terms of set etiquette, there's nothing worse than people coming on set with their earphones in, day playing, and they're on their phone the whole time. That's just such a bad thing.
Hmm.
You're not being attentive. Granted, we ain't got a lot going on here, but if my boss, the line producer, walks by, and every time they walk by and they see you down in your phone like this, they're gonna wonder why are they here. You
Right.
know, you have to, you have to be quiet on set. I mean, when they say be quiet, like you don't even want to. Sometimes you're like, can they hear me chewing these potato chips? Because they can hear everything.
Right.
They can hear everything. Like if the air conditioner is on, they're like, somebody needs to turn the air off. You know, staying in your lane, staying, being polite to people, letting people know, where you are. You don't want to look for anybody. I don't want to look for background. I don't want to look for my day
Right.
player.
Yeah,
You know,
that absolutely makes sense. All of the above, because that should be like
you
almost
know,
any workplace, but definitely I know it's exaggerated on a set. So,
yeah. And you want to know who you want to look like you're busy all the time. Even when you're sitting in front of that monitor watching things, you might
mhm,
want to, you don't want to just sit there for 12 hours. Get up and go somewhere, go, because we do have to go in after they uh after each take, we have to go in and reset the hair, makeup, I need to go in and powder an actress
right,
down. Depends on what the scene is. If they're fighting, I know I gotta go in there and keep getting dirt out the hair or whatever. But you wanna be engaged in your job. You want to make sure. My boss told me, my Charles told me, said, make sure that when you leave, they want you to come back.
right,
I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, if you see a need that you don't think is overstepping your bounds, do it. If you see because we carry sets, we carry chairs to set, we carry bags to set. If you see your department head with 4 bags walking out the chair, say, oh, let me help you with those bags. Thank you. Let me get your chair. Some things are like, you're like, I'm not carrying your chair. Look, I'm gonna carry your chair. Do you need me to come back next week? I'll be back. I carry your chair. I carry, sometimes it's hot out there. We're one big team. And when we're sitting out there in that sunlight, somebody might go over to craft and like come back with like 10 bottles of water. Like here's water for everybody. You
hmm
don't want to just go over there and come back while everybody else is sweating and you drinking a bottle of water. You might say, I'm going to crack. Anybody want anything? Some people are like, no. And then some people are like, hey, yeah, bring me a bottle of water. Bring me some Gatorade.
right, right.
Here you
So,
come chewing on potato chips.
okay. So one question I think I had, before we kind of wrap everything up, how do you get the next job? You were mentioning, like, do they want you to come back, or you want them to want you to come back? But how does that work?
Well, because I'm in a union, well, we have it's a periodical called Below the Line, and I think anybody can. You just pay a fee, and I think you can look on that. It tells you what shows are coming to town and what shows are prepping or whatever. But they might, you know, when they come to Atlanta, they may be like, okay, Black Lightning is coming to town. They're looking for They're looking for hair and makeup. You want to submit your resume? You submit your resume.
Okay.
Or somebody might call you from you know, one of the contacts in the office might be like, hey, are you available for such and such a gig? I'm like, yeah. Can I put your name in the pot? Yeah, sure. I'm gonna give you a quick story.
Okay.
You never know where your job is gonna come from. Years ago, when I first started at Tyler Perry Studios, I met a PA, production assistant. They're like the lowest person on the totem pole. They just, you know, sometimes people treat them so bad, but those PAs might end up being a director or a writer. You never know.
Right.
Anyway, so I saw this PA, I worked with him. Anyway, said he was moving to LA. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Good luck. Da, da, da. I'd seen him for years at TPS. So I went to LA a couple of years ago to do, I was shooting Love Is. And I got out there and I said, hey, what you doing out here? And he was like, I am he was one of the the creator and the writer's assistant. I was like, oh, okay, cool, great, great, great. Fast forward a couple more years later, I get a call from him, the same PA who is now an assistant to a director. He says, are you available to do this job? I said, sure. Now I'd already done Love Is, and you know, I'd met him there. And he said, I'm gonna put your name in the thing. I said, okay. I ended up with that job. Now that PA is now in the writer's room on a TV show.
Right.
But he was a PA and he remembered me because I was nice to him and I, you know, whatever. But I had developed you know, just in passing. And he put my name in, and like if I had been mean to him, maybe he wouldn't have put my name in. But that PA is now a writer in a writer's room on a major TV show.
Right.
So you don't know where your job is going to come from, but that's how I got one job. I mean, a lot of times it's like word of mouth. You know, you get this list, like we get a list in the union of every show that's coming to Georgia. When it's the production office, if they're accepting resumes, you know, somebody might call, you might get a call and be like, hey, Ralph, are you available to do this movie between July and December? No, I'm not available, but you know who is available? Let me give you their number, you know, and then sometimes we look on Below the Line and all these other periodicals and we'll submit a resume. You just don't know where you're going to get your job from.
Okay. Yeah,
You know?
that's really interesting, and in fact, you're the second guest in a row that's had kind of a success secret of just being nice, you know, treating people like people. It goes so far.
Hey, I will tell you one other thing. When I started in DC, I worked at Natural Motion at Liz's salon. Liz told me, she said, you know what? In order to be a good boss, you have to be a good employee.
Absolutely.
And you know, so whether I'm the department head or whether I'm 982 on the call sheet, I'm going to give it everything I've got.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That sounds like a wise tip for us to end on. But is there anything else that you want to, you know, share or get off your chest before we close and wrap it up?
I don't really think there's anything. I think I just want to make sure that I gave as much information as I possibly could, because it's really, you know, people, you know, just, you know, be wary of people that have, there's a lot of people right now that are running around teaching these classes on how to get in the union. Be leery of that. Be leery of that. It's just like when the modeling industry, when somebody used to say, you know, oh, if you pay me to take your pictures, if they want your pictures, they'll take your pictures. You'll get them out there. Because it's hard. It's not easy to get in a union. It's not easy. Just make friends and keep your ear to the grind, you know. And you know, nobody. When you go to Google 798 hair and makeup, they tell you on the list what you got to do. It's as simple as that. There's no way if I said, hey, Mickey, I'm going to get you in the union. You still gonna have to work them 180 days, no matter what.
Right.
Somebody got to give you them 180 days,
And
no matter what.
Everything on the list, right?
Yeah, got to still do it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Well, fabulous tips. It's like we have a comment here from Angela that just says, "Great behind the scenes information. Thank you." And
Angela Ravenel,
yeah, yep.
we used to work
You
together.
know.
We used to work together at the Rosa.
Oh, okay, okay.
Thank you, Angela.
We were talking about how small this industry is. It's like the 6 degrees of separation or less.
Does not exist. If you talk to somebody in the industry for about 5 minutes, you'll know somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for being here, taking time out of your schedule, sharing it with us so generously, because I think this is an area of the industry that we don't get to hear a lot about. We don't get to actually, ask the questions and kind of get the insights. And if you are interested in it, like who do you even turn to? Like you said, there's people online that are putting together classes and stuff, but you don't know if that's going to get you what you.
They won't get you. I will say this: they're going to teach you a lot of stuff. They're going to teach you set etiquette. They're going to teach you probably how to tie, like wrap up a head and put a wig on or whatever, things like that. They'll teach you things like that, but they can't get you in the union.
Right,
You
right,
still got to put 180 days in, but you
right,
can get a lot of you can get a lot of knowledge from those classes
right, right.
that they didn't have when I did it. I just had to watch somebody look over somebody's shoulder.
Okay, yeah.
I looked over somebody's shoulder, or like Charles and Vincent and Nikki and all these other people that I've worked with. They'd be like, "Come here, let me show you how to do this. Let
Right.
me show you. Come here, I need you to do this tomorrow." But yeah,
Yeah. And we need that. We need the education. We need the mentorship and all that kind of stuff. So I do hope that you'll, continue it in whatever way, shape, or form fits you. But we do appreciate you just being here and being such a wealth of information and so generous with it. So I
well,
want to
thank you
say,
for having me.
yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for being a superstar in our industry and for, I think film and television and as well as like social media and everything, it just shapes so much of how we see ourselves and how much others see us as well. And so just that whole defining of beauty has so much to do with, what we see on all of these screens. And so I think the more representation we have behind the scenes, the better
Yeah.
everything is in front of the scenes. So yeah, so I'm gonna wrap up. I actually saw a great comment from Mazay Jefferson, was
Well,
saying hi
hey,
to both of us, and he's actually going to be my guest for next week.
next Tuesday
Yep, next Tuesday. So mark your calendars, guys.
we worked together.
Oh, okay. With
We worked at
Soft.
a roadside together.
Oh, the Rosai. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, too many combinations of of everyone knowing everyone, but Mazay will be here next week, and it's gonna be about influencing global beauty because I think again he's in a corporate position as an assistant vice president of education for L'Oreal Professional, and in a position and in some rooms to make some differences in terms of what we're seeing, how we're being educated, and all of that. So I can't wait to talk with him, and that will be next Tuesday. And then we've got Michelle O'Connor coming up the following Tuesday, who's won 5 NAHA awards, which is absolutely amazing. And when you
Yeah.
see her editorial work, and it's just mind blowing, like your head, that little emoji thing where your head just explodes, like. Whew. So she's going to be here and talk to us about her experiences. And I know she has experienced some things with, feeling marginalized in terms of the accomplishments that she has and not having the opportunities that may have been afforded for someone else. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll end the month with Kia Sterling is like, and she's another person that's got some mind-blowing work out there, and she does all kinds of things with Fashion Week and traveling all over the world prior to COVID, educating and putting on these productions or part of a production team. And she's been very vocal with, everything that's going on in a conscious sense. So I'm excited that she'll be here. And you were mentioning how popular barbers are. It's like September is going to be our barber month, so we will continue on with Eric Cheek and Kimberly Coleman and Oh, more, I think I'm missing a name. And then we've got a couple more, so I'm working on it. So just stay tuned. Beauty Superstars Talk will continue. It's like, and we'll just keep sharing these exciting stories about Black artists that are doing amazing things in our industry, and just keep moving this ball forward. So want to thank everybody for joining me. Thank you for, again, Ralph, for being our guest this evening. And I will see you guys next week. So stay fabulous and keep reaching for the stars. Have a great night.
Thank you.